Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Nitya Leela Pravishtam Vishnupad. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Bhagya ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Samadaita Vaishnava Mandali ki jai. Kol Kartel ki jai, Shri Harinama Sankirtan ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo jai, Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai. So, yes, welcome. And this is we have a regular Sunday afternoon talk and broadcast. It's also broadcast, so many people watch. That either now online or afterwards when it's recorded. In fact, we have one devotee, he told me last week, I watch it, because he lives so close by, I watch the class online, and then when the class is finished, I come for Aarti.
Come for Prashad.
Yeah. That's Sudarshan.
You can do online.
Yeah, you can't take Prashadam online. And we have Maharaj with us this week. This is our special guest, Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj. And at the moment, we're going through the books of our founder Acharya, our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. His talks between 1981 and 1988, which he spoke in English, and in 1988 was when he passed away. And at the moment we're on Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, Volume 3. So...
She slept? Oh, that's good.
She likes to sleep, yes. She's very old. She's about 20 years old. And she's keeps the mice and rats away from the temple. Before she came, not so much rats, but we used to have so many mice in the kitchen. At night time you'd sit there, it'd be like they'd be having a mouse disco. So one of the devotees brought her here, and she came here, and now we don't see mice anymore. And if we do, they're in her mouth usually.
Okay, dear associates on camera, and those who are here, we're going to read then from Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, Chapter 3, of Personal Glimpses. So it's a nice chapter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Cookie.
And chant Hare Krishna. It's free and it's good for you. Let's see. All right. Lovely. Maybe the volume's a bit high. We're getting feedback.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's from you or from me.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right. Personal glimpses. And I'm sorry, I cannot translate into French. Personnel. All right. Devotee. Please can you tell us how you happened to meet your Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, Sermons Volume 3, Ki Jai, and Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, Ki Jai. So, devotees asking to Srila Guru Maharaj, how he came, how did you come to meet your Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Then Srila Guru Maharaj answers, there is some background to our first meeting. When I was at school, I had some appreciation for the students from East Bengal, because I had heard from one of my cousins about their sacrifice for their country and so forth. So during my college days, I would take my seat in that hostel where they generally lived. When I came in the association of the students there, I found there to be two sections. Many were studying medicine. If any patient was admitted or any other physical duty was required, one section would immediately run to meet those requirements. The patient would come, so they go, okay, what can we do for the patient? And another section was inclined to be engaged in meditation, chanting the holy names, doing sandhya worship, and so forth. But they would hate...
Left her bag, one of those girls left her bag on the...
No, she's there.
Okay.
There's another one left. Yeah, good. But good to notice. We just make sure she does pick it up. No,
Yeah.
she's right there. Yeah.
Okay, good.
She dropped the book in the water.
Oh no. Anyway, she dropped it. She didn't put it there. Accidents happen. Okay, one section was inclined to attend immediately to the patients who came, and the other section were inclined to meditation, to chanting the holy names, doing worship, and so forth. But they would hate to attend to any patient or other such duties. Oh dear. Okay, so my own nature was inclined to both kinds of duties. And when I was a fourth-year student, I suddenly met a boy from the first year who was similarly inclined. He would engage himself in meditation, sandhya, worship, etc. He would take the name and sing the praises of the Lord. But also, if any patient should be admitted, he would forget his class and studies and attend to the patient. That attracted me towards him, and I tried to gain his association. One morning, we were going to the jungle to collect twigs in order to cleanse our teeth. You see, we don't need a toothbrush in our carry-on luggage. Go to the trees. Anyway, one morning we were going to the jungle to collect twigs in order to cleanse our teeth, when in the course of our talk he said suddenly about his father. He referred to him as that gentleman. And I protested that it was disrespectful to use such a term for his respectable father. Then he said, yes, I should not have mentioned in that way in your presence, but ultimately it is really so. Where was I in my previous lives? Only he is a gentleman to me, because it is only in this life that I have come in his house. So that was that student's response to Guru Maharaj. Then Srila Guru Maharaj says, somehow that touched a fine chord in me, and I began to think, yes, it is right. Nobody can stay here, not the father, the mother, the brothers, or even this house. Everything is temporarily connected, and I am wandering in eternity. That sort of impression came in me in a very, very intense form. And the whole world became as if it was just empty, fully empty. At that time, that boy anyhow connected me with the life of Mahaprabhu. Presently, I was given a publication about Sri Chaitanya Dev by the gentleman who founded the Amrita Bazaar Patrika newspaper. Into my thirsty mind, I drank fully the life of Mahaprabhu with much pleasure. And my attraction was drawn to him, to Mahaprabhu. I also think that from my previous life there was some attraction. I found that my mother's family had some connection with Mahaprabhu, but my father's family were anti-Gauranga. They were strictly smarta brahmanas, that is, worship of the Shakti, or goddess. And they were logicians of the Nyaya school. But somehow I had connection with Gauranga, and then I came to want a good connection with his devotees. I searched for such a sadhu to accept as my Gurudev, but I was not satisfied, and in due course I went to study law in Calcutta. Then, leaving college, I joined with the non-cooperation movement of Gandhi. I joined temporarily because I considered that my fate was already tied with Mahaprabhu, and therefore could not give anyone my whole life's energy. After 6 years, the movement allowed me temporary leave.
Wow.
I was in search of a Gurudev. The founder of the Bharat Seva ashram was the same age as myself. His name was Paramananda. That boy whom I had met in college was connected with him. And so I also met him, but he was a karmi. He tried his best to take me within his fold, but I answered him, no, my head is already sold to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. But he said, yes, I also recognize Gauranga Mahaprabhu to be the highest. But first it is necessary to follow the vairagya, the indifference and renunciation of Buddha. Then the discussion of the Vedanta of Shankara. And after that, the highest is the prema of Sri Chaitanya Dev. Without following each step, that prema would be misunderstood by the ordinary section. So that was his response. Yes, Guru Maharaj saying. He explained in that way. And of course, I was very much pleased to hear him giving such position to Mahaprabhu. But I put to him this question. You say that first we must pass through the stages given by Buddha, then Shankara, and only then come to Chaitanya Dev. But Chaitanya Dev did not say that. He said, if you want to come to me, come through... What? He did not... Sorry, I'll read that again. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not say, if you want to come to me, come through Buddha and Shankara and then to me. Rather, Mahaprabhu said, wherever you are, you can take the name with the company of the sadhu, and in that way you will come to me. He did not say, first become Buddhist, then become Shankarite, and then you will come to me. He did not say so. So this is Guru Maharaj saying what he told that Arya Samaj leader. Was he Arya Samaj, right? Bharat Seva Ashram. Yes. Prabhu, please correct me if I say something. Bharat Seva Ashram. So Guru Maharaj said that. Then Guru Maharaj saying, he became silent. You heard that? Then he became silent. Then I asked him, if you have some siddhi, you please say, where is my Gurudev? So Guru Maharaj was being clear. You're not my Guru, but you are a pious person. If you have some siddhi, please tell me, where is my Gurudev? Then he gave some idea, go to that particular gentleman. And by his request, I went there. But that man was not present. Then one day I found that there was a placard advertising a 1-month festival in the Gaudiya Mat at number 1 Uttaringi Junction Road near Pareshanath Temple in Kolkata. I went to visit that place thinking that the name Gauriya, they must have some connection with Sri Chaitanya Dev. And I found, yes, they are educated men. It is a gentleman's association, and they are well studied in scripture, as well as being very good practitioners. So that was Guru Maharaj's impression on coming to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mat and the devotees who were in the mat. In our family, of course, there was no intoxication, and they followed so many other pure practices. And I found also such conduct there in the Gauriya mat. But what attracted me most was their deep knowledge of the scriptures. I had done some studying, but still I felt myself to be in a lower position concerning knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Sriman Mahaprabhu, etc. But their high regard for the scriptures attracted me very much. I began to go there, to hear, and gradually became inspired. I had some objections in the beginning, but I found that what those devotees gave was correct, and my conception was wrong. In this way, I gained understanding and inspiration by hearing more and more. Whenever anything was said to them from the scriptures, they would come to listen very carefully. But if something was said, quoting Aurobindo, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, Gandhi, etc., it was summarily rejected. No, we have no time to lose. We have no time to waste to hear all this. But whenever there was a reference to any scriptures, their reaction was, yes, what do you say? Please express it. What attracted me most was that they had within them such devout appreciation for the scriptures and for the rishis, as was also in me perhaps to an overflowing degree. Thereby, gradually I discovered the real meaning of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and of Srimad Bhagavatam, for which already I had great appreciation and reverence. I was pleased to find that they are very much part of this mission. The Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahaprabhu, Gita Bhagavatam and Mahaprabhu are very much part of this mission. And I learnt, amongst other things, that Sri Chaitanya Dev and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita are the highest authority. I then entered into the mission. Whatever misunderstandings I had gradually cleared. I was converted, so much so that even the senior men used to ask me, what Srila Prabhupada has said, please repeat it for our clarification. And I would repeat, reproducing for them what I had heard from Srila Prabhupada, and they were satisfied. In this way, I came to such a position that generally the educated section began to say, Sridhar Maharaj can represent the things very well. One respectable gentleman similarly said, in a very concise form, he can represent the very substance and without any excitement. There are some who, when they are saying something, show signs of excitement. Okay, we know some. I mean, in a good way, we know. I mean, I'm thinking of something, but no need to mention names. Otherwise, people, oh, Maharaj says. Anyway, there are some who, when they say something, show signs of excitement. But in a sober temperament, I would try to deliver the substance using only a few words. I was not very pushing, not forward, but rather my nature was to hang behind. I would not try to go ahead. I would not try to go ahead by 2 pages. I would not try to go ahead and be in the front. But it would be as though I was playing from behind. That was my nature, keeping myself back and more busy for my own realizations as to the meanings of the different shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. Generally, I would meditate on the meanings of the various shlokas. Sometimes also, I would perhaps receive some new illumination and understanding concerning the meaning of the higher plane. In this way, I passed my days. And maybe a little more. I first came across Srila Swami Maharaj, our Srila Prabhupada. His name, by the way, you know, is Swami Maharaj, like Sridhar Maharaj, Govinda Maharaj. His name is actually Swami Maharaj. And his title is Bhakti Vedanta, given by Guru Maharaj, his title. So I first came across Swami Maharaj a little later in Allahabad, now called Mahaprayag, right? Allahabad renamed to Mahaprayag, I think, under Modi's government. So I first came across Swami Maharaj a little later in Allahabad, when he was the agent, Swami Maharaj, was the agent at Karti Bose agent of Karti Bose of Bengal Chemicals. Then, in the Bombay Mat also, I had his company for a long time. But the main association I had with him was in Calcutta, after the departure of our Guru Maharaj. I opened a center there in his house, in the house next to his, which was also owned by him. Downstairs there was a laboratory, and on the first floor there were 4 rooms that I took on sublease from him. And Gurudev told that actually at first Guru Maharaj gave those rooms, but Srila Prabhupada's business went down and down because he wasn't paying attention to his business. He was always discussing Hari Katha. But when the business went down, then Guru Maharaj, in order that it's not a burden for Srila Prabhupada, he paid some small amount. He gave like rent. So he's saying here sublease from him. But Gurudev explained in the beginning, actually Srila Prabhupada gave that area, but when Srila Prabhupada was in difficulty, then he was in difficulty, so then Gurudev subleased.
And some of the brahmacharis complained. Did you hear? Gurudev told us. I remember at Sri Govinda's house. He said, some of the brahmacharis that were there at that time, they complained to Swami Maharaj, you know. Oh, what is this? You gave it, and now you're asking
Hare
rent
Krishna,
for it?
Hare Krishna, Krishna,
And Govinda Maharaj said, when Guru Maharaj heard, he said, what kind of religion are you practicing? He told them, like in chastisement.
Yeah.
What kind of religion are you practicing? Now he's given us, and then from his heart he's given us, and now he's in difficulty, and instead of trying to help him, you want that we should chastise him.
And give him more difficulty.
Yeah, give him more difficulty.
Jai Guru Maharaj, Jai Guru Dev. Okay, so this is where, so Guru Maharaj is saying, I opened a center in the house next door, and it was owned by Srila Prabhupada, but then he subleased from him. I stayed there for some time. He used to come almost every day, and we had discussions about the inner meanings and teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Briefly, we discussed other things also, but mainly our discussions were based on the Bhagavad Gita. Govinda Maharaj was there all along. Haricharan Prabhu was a newcomer then, and he also was there for some time. Govinda Maharaj was very much liked by Swami Maharaj, who often mentioned, I saw him as my child. That was how I became connected with the Gaudiya Math and joined the mission. There you are, the devotee really got a good answer on this one.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I can read a bit more. It's a slightly different subject, but we're all reading Prapanajivanamritam, if not every day from time to time, and reading the book again and again over the course of our lives. Who's outside the door? Friend or foe? Okay. So here is a question the devotee is asking to Srila Guru Maharaj. Srila Guru Maharaj, what inspired you to compose the book Sri Sri Prapanajivanamritam? And we were thinking about this the other day, talking with this area. Srila Guru Maharaj replies, much later, when I left the association of the disciples of our Srila Prabhupada to live alone, I felt some sort of helplessness within me. I knew that Sharanagati, surrender, is the indispensable necessity in the life of a devotee. And I felt I have left, or somehow or other I am excluded from the company of Prabhupada's association, Saraswat Prabhupada's association. I am helpless, but Sharanagati may come to my relief. So Guru Maharaj thinking of this. So I especially came to think, Sharanagati is the basis, but what is Sharanagati? And this is mature Guru Maharaj. At this point, he's reflecting all these things. You know, I know everything, I know what to tell you. He's coming to go deeper and deeper to find this Sharanagati. This is his expression, openness. So mature Guru Maharaj, who everyone's coming to hear from in the time of Saraswati Thakur, as we heard, as well as later. Then he's saying, I came especially to think, Sharanagati is the basis, but what is Sharanagati? On reading Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book, Sharanagati, this point impressed me most, that he wrote, Shad Anga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara Tahara Pratana Shune Sri Nanda Kumara. Does it sound familiar? We are singing, you see, every morning. That if you want Nanda Kumar, you must have this sixfold Sharanagati. And then underneath is it's not Guru Maharaj giving it, but it's here. We hopefully know the 6 limbs of Sharanagati are acceptance of the favorable, rejection of the unfavorable, full confidence in the Lord's protection, embracing the Lord's guardianship, full self-surrender, and humility, surrender in humility. So, Shad Anga Sharanagati, Hoibe Jahara, Tahara Prathana Shune Shri Nanda Kumar. If you want Nanda Kumar, you must have this sixfold Sharanagati. I wanted to culture that. So at that time, after coming to live alone, I recollected all I had imbibed in my mat life, living in the temple, and also consulted about Sharanagati in Hari Bhakti Vilas, in Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha, and in the Ramanuja Sampradaya's writings. I then tried to collect it all together and arrange it in a particular way as I thought best. In this way, I began to write the book Shri Shri Prapana Jivanamritam, that it may also help others who might come in such a position as mine. That was the real reason. Hare Krishna. This is my reading for today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
That book that Guru Maharaj mentioned, that his school friend put him in touch with, about the life of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, that book is still available.
And which book was that?
It's written by Shishir Kumar Ghosh, and it was published by the what are they called? What's it called? That it'll come to me. But anyway, it's in Bengali and in English.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengali version is called Amiya Nimai Charita, and the English version is called Lord Gauranga. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, they published it. And it's still available as far as I'm aware. I have a copy of it. And I asked Guru Maharaj, and others asked Guru Maharaj, can we read it? Is it okay to read it? You know, the book. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, you can read it. And he said, when I read it, I devoured it like nectar. He said, but it is not like completely correct Siddhanta, and not completely correct historically either. He said, but the spirit is very wonderful. He was the editor of the Amrita Bazaar Patrika, Shishir Kumar Ghosh. And as far as I know, I mean, it's still available from the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan.
Okay.
Lord Gauranga in English.
And that book you're mentioning about you also devouring the book eagerly, and Guru Maharaj devouring the book eagerly. You know, one book, and I started to read it out of curiosity, and I probably shouldn't, because we shouldn't really read books out of curiosity. But it was, I mean, we should know the book and its author before we start to read. But Dayara Gauranga Prabhu, we've been talking about the other day, he brought one book back. I said, I've got this book, it's a great treasure. And it was that book, Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Oh, yes.
And anyway, he brought it back, and he was saying it's like a good book, I mean, whatever it is.
I also have that.
But then I kind of started reading it out of curiosity. And then one day I went up, this is in my days in Malaysia, on the motorbike, I went off into the wilds, just to be somewhere, just quiet, not far away, just a few kilometers from the ashram. And I just went there, and I had me sitting in place and everything. And I went there one afternoon just to chant japa, and I thought, I'll read this, I'll have a read of this book. I read it so much that the night came, and I couldn't leave where I was. Because when I went on the motorbike, it was just wild. It's wild way to get there, up and down. It's all land washed by water, and it's not possible. You're going to really be in difficulty to come up. So I spent the night in the wild. And next morning I woke up and the first thing was I started reading it. Really, I found it wonderful.
Yeah.
It's just the mood that was there. And then anyway, later, I read the book and finished through, and then I sort of mentioned to Dayada something when he came the next time, after some time. And he said, oh yeah, Guru Maharaj was the proofreader of that book. And he said, proofreader, if it's Guru Maharaj as a proofreader, it means that he edited it. And that was written by?
Nishikanta Sanyal, Professor Sanyal.
Yeah.
And,
but that was kind of my experience of devouring a book. And one other was a bona fide book. And this one, by the way, is bona fide also, that book.
Yeah, and it's now been republished by the Gaudiya Math. And because the copy that Dayada had was only the first half, and they published both the 2 volumes of it now.
But
first half, second
apparently
half.
there was a question about the second volume, if it actually came from Professor Sanyal. I know this was all being discussed at the time, and I think Gurudev didn't decisively say either way. So that I don't know. But the other book was The Lord's Loving Search for the Lost Servant, and I was reading that on the train. My first reading of that was on the train going from Navadip to Calcutta. And you know the trains in India. Everything's going on around you. I just was reading that book. I paid completely fixed on the book. I'm aloof to all the crazy stuff going on the local train going to Calcutta, with all the stops and all the things going on. Just completely aloof to everything. And I read that book wonderfully. If the world was left to Madhusudan, all the text would be close together like this, so you get lots of words on one page, fill up the book.
Can I ask you a question?
You can. Let's see what treasure is hiding in this book. What historic devotional document is here. You can ask a question. We have got Devashis who here, so you may ask us the question. We shall fight over the answer. No, we're not going to fight over it. Oh, we're on the television. Excuse me, devotees, we don't fight over the answer.
Well, from what I understand, Srila Maharaj is a realized being. He descended to this world. He was never conditioned at any point. So how is it that he had to go through all these things in his life, like he had to discover still, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and find his guru? I mean, you would think maybe he would be born in a Vaishnava family and straight away got into the
Leela of the Lord, and for a certain necessity. Okay, this is my answer. Sorry, I can't remember. Leela of the Lord and a certain necessity. And what necessity? You can consider also time, place, and circumstance. We can only kind of guess what arrangement of the Lord, why he wants things in a certain way. But he was born in such a Brahminical family, particular like department of Brahminical families that all over India, wherever they were, they knew that family. So from that background, such a person from technically the smarter background, logician, nyaya background, who coming from this family and so exalted and so many things, that he has come to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Then we can say that it may be the Lord's wish that whatever a great man others follow, so as a pillar in this way. But it is Leela, and how the devotees, how the pure devotees show their coming to Krishna consciousness. How did Mahaprabhu show he came to Krishna consciousness? Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, but he showed that he was a naughty boy and do so many things, and then even the devotees were frustrated with Mahaprabhu. Oh, he's so charming. But
if only he were a devotee.
Exactly. If only he was a devotee, and then everything would be perfect. But he's so argumentative, and this and this and this. And then when he came back after receiving initiation from Ishvara Puri, he was a changed person. But you see, Mahaprabhu in his Leela came to the line of Krishna consciousness. So anyway, that's my few cents, but Devashis will please.
No, right. And actually, what you said, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he gave Guru Maharaj initiation, he quoted that verse from Bhagavad Gita, whatever a great man does, a lesser man will follow.
That's right, he did. Now,
So,
yeah.
yeah. And, I mean, what to speak of Guru Maharaj? In one sense, Guru Maharaj was born in a very orthodox Vaishnava family. And although they didn't, from his, as he mentioned there, his father didn't recognize Mahaprabhu. The smarters, they considered Mahaprabhu ruined Hindu society because previously there's no question of mixing of castes. If you were a Brahmin, would never take prasadam with the Shudra. What to speak of Malechas? And when Brahmins used to come to study in Oxford University, they had to bring their own Brahmin cook with them, and that was a common thing then. So that was how society was. And Mahaprabhu, he in one sense he demolished that because he didn't believe in untouchability or casteism or all of those things. And so the orthodox section, they found that most objectionable, and that was his Guru Maharaj's father's side were like that, from that side. But Guru Maharaj's family, they're a Bhattacharya family, and that is considered to be a very high Brahmin family. And from Guru Maharaj's mother's side, Mahaprabhu's connection was there. But what to speak of Srila Guru Maharaj, if you read the biography of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his autobiography he wrote in a series of letters to his son Lalita Prasad, and he talks about his gradual conversion to Vaishnavism. So then from reading that, you would think that he's a conditioned soul that became converted to Vaishnavism. His practices even, he came from what's known as a Kayasta family. That means landowners. And Kayasta is considered a type of Shudra, actually. And of course that's the family of Saraswati Thakur. And Guru Maharaj said that was the one reservation that he had. He said, I come from a high Brahmin family. How can I accept somebody from a Kayasta family as my guru? But then he said, on reflection, deep reflection and prayer, I understood that what he's giving is above all of that. Then it's not even, it shouldn't even be a consideration. So, but if you, in the autobiography of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you see there's talks about the picnics they went on and the many things they did with the family and all of these things, and they're not what they were eating at the picnics wasn't Mahaprasada. So for an example, and so yes, from our point of view, it would look like an ordinary person who came to be converted to the path of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But Srila Guru Maharaj said, because of what he gave to the world, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave to the world, it is impossible to conceive that could come from an ordinary human being. It must have come from the upper realm, from the spiritual world. So in the same way as you were saying, Srila Guru Maharaj coming from that, it's a fact, it's true. But also when Saraswati Thakur he wrote in one of his introduction, I think maybe to Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur as non-different from Gadadhar Pandit, and but he qualifies that by saying, "This is my private conception." So I don't say it publicly. I don't know how much more publicly you could say it than publishing it in a book, but I don't say it publicly because people may think that I'm mad, to say such a thing. But it's my. So you can't actually measure a Vaishnava's life by our, yardstick, if you like, of our conception of purity and of all of these things is not applicable to them, and it can be an offence for us to try and apply that criteria to the higher Vaishnavas. To think that there was a time when they weren't a Vaishnava, even though historically it may appear that way. For us to conceive of that may be considered an offence. So generally, we don't talk about what they say, the samsara lila part of the Vaishnava's life, although it may have been there. They may speak about it as Guru Maharaj did. But from our point of view, and of course, then what is that? You see, Saraswat Thakur, he gave many examples of that. What he's used the term Vaikuntha Vritti, which means for preaching Krishna consciousness, anything and everything may be utilized for that. He said, Guru Maharaj himself said that Saraswat Thakur's plan was to open a students' hostel in London, and he said we would have their food would be provided for them by a local restaurant, and that would mean meat and all of those things to the students. And Guru Maharaj said, I mildly protested, that if meat would be associated with the mott, it would bring a bad name on our mission. And he said, and Saraswat Thakur, he said, his face flushed red, and he slammed his fist on the table, and he said, no, 1,000 births ago I decided this, that for preaching, for the spreading of the Mahaprabhu's conception, Krishna consciousness, anything can be used. Everything and anything can be used. So, then what can we say, And how do we measure once Srila Guru Maharaj said that the meat-eating theist may be better than the vegetarian atheist. So the real connection is how we are connecting with divinity, with the divine. So it's not like that there is some general idea about that, but it depends on what is the connection with the divine. I used to, when I had my restaurant many years ago, and
you both own restaurants. Okay.
Then of course it was like it was a vegetarian restaurant, and we used to have this old man used to come in there regular, and he used to wear this T-shirt. He said, "Good without God." That was his T-shirt that he wore. Good without God. And he was like a vegan, fruitarian most of the time, and that was his idea, that we don't need God. We can be good without God.
Did you produce some T-shirts bad with God? Well, not for you.
Anyhow, that's the idea. But actually, if you look at our any society in the world today, any modern society that has a code of morals and ethics, you can bet your life that those morals and ethics came from religious teachings. They didn't just appear. People thought, "Oh, this is a good idea." No, they came from a religious perspective, and maybe they don't accept that anymore. But especially in Europe and the UK, it's quite acceptable, to be an atheist. In America, you can't be an atheist in America. You can, but if you want to run to be a politician, you can't be an atheist. You just can't. You have to, even if you don't believe in God, you have to pretend you believe in God. So Srila Gurudev said, I noticed on their currency that says, "In God we trust" on there. He said, I like that idea very much. In God we trust. So anyway, kind of strayed off the question a little bit there, but what Maharaj says, it's a leela, and it's also meant to encourage us as well, that when we see how the great souls came to Krishna consciousness, we find some inspiration in that, hearing about those things. There's one of the questions that I don't know if it was Guru Maharaj, but one of his disciples asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur if all of the parshadas mentioned, the word parshada means associates, eternal associate, means parshada means eternal associate. So in Mahaprabhu's Leela, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear about so many devotees, so many Vaishnavas, but they're all considered to be parshadas, eternal associates of the Lord, and then there's a book called Gaur Ganadesh Dipika, and in that book it says this person is in Chaitanya Leela is this person in Krishna Leela, and there's one of the questions that someone asked Saraswati Thakur was, then if all of the associates of Mahaprabhu were all parshadas, then how does that help us, the fallen souls? What are the examples of the souls that were fallen, that were converted to Krishna consciousness? So even Jagai and Madai, right? They're Jai and Vijay. So they can just say, well, it was Leela, right? So they're eternally liberated souls anyway. So, but and Guru Maharaj said, but Saraswati Thakur, he gave a list of those that were actually new recruits, not coming from Krishna Leela, and the foremost of all of those was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He doesn't have a corresponding part in Krishna Leela before.
About that subject, there's only so many people in Mahaprabhu's Leela. So the Jews are infinite. So
Sorry, what?
there's only so many people in Mahaprabhu's Leela.
Yeah.
So the Jivas are infinite.
Yeah.
And if they practice, just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, so you achieve perfection, only one knows me. So
Right.
it does make it look very hard.
Well, that question was posed by Mahaprabhu himself to Haridas Thakur.
I didn't get the question, bro.
Huh?
I didn't get the question.
Now the question is, if Mahaprabhu's circle of associates and everything is just that small number, which within Chaitanya, mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and so on, what about all the infinite jivas? That weren't directly involved in Mahaprabhu's Leela. So, and this question, similar question, was posed by Mahaprabhu himself to Haridas Thakur, and he said, "Oh, you are saying that I am, the Supreme Lord Himself, and that because of my appearance here, the whole world has become liberated. So, what is the proof of that? If the whole world had become liberated, surely the world would be vacant." And this is Mahaprabhu's question to Haridas. Why are you saying that the whole world has become liberated? The world's still full of fallen souls, so what you're saying, what's the proof of that? And Haridas Thakur, his reply is, oh, you're don't try to deceive me. He said, because I know who you are. I know who you are. And he said, and if today all living entities go to Vaikuntha, tomorrow the world will be filled again, because there's no end to the jiva souls. So it's like there's no end to the, you can say, emanation of the jiva souls from Krishna's energy. So, like in physics, we understand that, right? That nature abhors a vacuum. Wherever there's a vacuum, something will come to fill it up again. So that's Haridas Thakur's refutation of Mahaprabhu's argument that if the whole world is liberated today, tomorrow it'll be full again. Won't even be a gap, So anyhow.
But that answer is like the inverse answer to the question.
Maybe. But it makes sense, doesn't it? So that actually is the truth. And that is our great fortune. That, we heard from Srila Guru Maharaj this, that from our perspective, the material world is the place of the fallen, the rebels, those that rebelled against the Krishna Lila. We had the choice. We decided not to enter into Krishna Lila, but to try and come and be little Krishnas here ourselves, right? Be a Krishna in the world. Try and find your Radha. Try and do all, enjoy separately from Krishna. And because of that, the place we live in is called the Durga, the prison. We're living in the prison, and we're being punished by the material nature. Birth, death, old age, disease, and so on. And the wheel of samsara, around and round and round and round. But Guru Maharaj says, but from Mahaprabhu's point of view, the world exists to facilitate his lila of saving the fallen souls. If there was no place with fallen souls, then Mahaprabhu wouldn't be able to enjoy that pastime of saving those fallen souls. So yeah, that means that there is some purpose for us all, other than just, we weren't just put here to suffer. We're put here to be rescued by Mahaprabhu, actually. So from a very far-sighted point of view, this material world only exists to facilitate his lila, and therefore we have some part to play in that. And we were discussing this in Thailand. You remember, Maharaj, that Gurudev was reading that shloka, and in that the explanation of the shloka is that that I have my nature and you have your nature. He's telling to Lord Krishna, I have my nature, you have your nature, and my nature is to be a fallen soul. And Gurudev says, when he's explaining this in English, and between you and me, he's saying to Krishna, between you and me, I'm never going to worship you. You know that I'm never going to worship you, but I've done my part. I'm as fallen as I can be. I've done my part. Now it's time for you to do your part, and your part is you have to come and rescue the fallen souls. So do your job. This is your job. So come and do your job and rescue the fallen souls. I've done my part. I've done as much as I can. I'm as fallen as I can be. Now come and do your job and save me. So there's something like that. It's all a matter of perspective. It's hard to see when you're in the middle of it all, suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Then, it's hard to be philosophical about that. But sometimes if we can take a step back and look at that, or try to appreciate that from another perspective, we can see that this material world is only for that. Only for that. And not only that, this earth, I think maybe it was you who was talking about this the other day, how that this earth is, of all of the planets, is the most exalted, because Krishna has had his Leela here. Right. So, when we look in the sky and we see the multitude of stars there, right? Then it's ridiculous for us to think that on all of that there's no life. That we're the only planet to have life. That's ridiculous. Statistically ridiculous idea. There must be life on, even if it's so far away that we could never conceive of it. But of all of those stars, planets, everything that are out there, whatever they're doing there, none of them are as exalted as this earth planet, because Lord Krishna's lotus feet walked on this planet, and he performed his Leela here on this planet. So you can't be in a better place, really, than that. So,
about how the great souls come to show their devotional side, and the Pashas, the pure souls who come to this plane, come to show how they become influenced to be a devotee, etc. Then a book was published about the lives of the saints, perhaps, which was telling the biography of various known personalities. But Gurudev disapproved the book because, and this book came out in the time of Guru Maharaj, and so Gurudev and Guru Maharaj were discussing about this, and Gurudev made it very clear that the life before it is shown their devotional side, that what has come before that, it is not of any focus, and they disapproved how so much attention was given to what such and such person was doing this before becoming a devotee. We see, before showing their devotional aspect. Now, in some cases it may be relevant, but in other cases, generally speaking, it is the contribution of the Vaishnavas which is seen, and not they were this, they were that, and became. But once a devotee, always a devotee, as we say. But interestingly, some devotees are very enthusiastic about that book, but it doesn't improve. So, no. What they will describe will be the spiritual contribution of these persons, and not their external. Even after being a devotee, what is their external habits so much? But it's their spiritual contribution. And on the point of everyone being liberated, and then tomorrow again the world is filled up, then Srila Guru Maharaj gave the example that if I have a glass of water and I empty the water and there's an ocean, and I'm by the ocean, I can just fill it up again from the ocean. It's just there's an unlimited number, and Guru Maharaj gave that idea. There's no glass, it was empty, okay, fill it up again. So just a couple of things that came to mind, and Devashis will explaining nicely.
So it's all good, really. Actually, that's why the highest devotees, they don't see anything wrong in the world. They see everything's happening exactly as it's meant to, exactly as Krishna desires it to be. Then, for them, it is not possible for them to preach about Krishna consciousness unless they accept, you can say, like a imposed bias, that the Uttamadhikari has to step down to the platform of the Madhyamadhikari to be able to preach, because Madhyamadhikari sees Krishna and non-Krishna, things which are non-Krishna, and tries to bring people to the Krishna aspect of life, ignoring the non-Krishna aspect of life. But the Uttamadhikari, doesn't see anything as being non-Krishna. Everything he sees as Krishna. So then, and everyone is doing what they're meant to be doing according to the will of the Lord. So no possibility of any complaint there, or any like conversion or rescue or anything, you know. No possibility. Only the Madhyamadikari can preach Krishna consciousness, and sometimes that means the Uttamadikari has to accept the vision of the Madhyamadikari to be able to preach Krishna consciousness. There's no fault in the design. Everything is perfect. From their perspective, from that side, everything is perfect. What do you think? Is that all right?
It's all right. I don't know how much time we have. More questions.
Yes, we have time. We have like half an hour, almost.
I'm just thinking, like in our case, the conditioned souls who are desperately trying to become devotees and to serve. How should we see our life before we encounter the movement? If it's relevant or not to think about it like and it was like perfect arrangement that made us who we are now, and should we relate it to our present process, or should we just like forget about it and just like it was wrong, like it was?
I think it depends on the person. So some things that maybe that yes, everything we did in our life brought us to where we are today. So then nothing is, you can say, of no value. Everything has its value, but we should try and see it in relation to Krishna. But not that we should think, oh, my life before, and hanker for that. Oh, I miss this, I miss that. You know, like that may also be there, of course. But if that brings us to embrace that side of our life again, that won't be good. So you know, sometimes you have to kind of become sheltered from that. If you're a habitual criminal, sometimes, I mean, for the sake of everybody else, your movement has to be restricted, right? So either you have to go to prison, or you're under house arrest, or they do that thing where they put a tag on you can only move in a certain area. So you can say, for habitual offenders to Krishna and so on, then sometimes our movement needs to be a little restricted. So ashram is good for that, or at least theoretically it's good for that. But ashram is not like it used to be. When I came to join the mission of Krishna consciousness was in 1977, and then when we joined, we were just like leaving our life behind us forever, like our previous life. We didn't really want to even think about that. It was like, then, but the world has changed now from there. So now everybody's got a mobile phone in their pocket, and everybody's got a laptop or something, And if you say to the devotee when they join the ashram, okay, you have to surrender those, they say, okay, see you later. I can't do that. See you later. But so, in one sense, there's no question of leaving your life behind, because you've got it still in your pocket, And there's a English saying, maybe there's something similar. You said, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Have you heard that saying? That means if your mind has no proper engagement, then it'll be the place the devil can, find you. But I say now, an idle mind and a broadband connection, then, you know, the devil will be dancing, the devil will be singing. So, you know, then you don't, sometimes you can't even get the shelter of the ashram, because in your pocket you've got a device that you can connect to 24-hour-a-day Maya that even before you could never connect to. Like nowadays, there is 24-hour-a-day distraction available to you. You can be perpetually distracted from anything. And people do that, don't they? You know, they're going to work. That's all. They're just looking at their phone. You know, what are they looking at? What are they playing? Some game, or So almost impossible now to have that kind of discipline. You go to even in India, you see, the sadhus, they've got mobile phones now. Not just mobile phones, they've also got card machines, so you can give a donation to them with a credit card. That's the world we live in now. Unfortunately, you see that. So it maybe requires more of us. But no, I mean, there may be aspects of our life that we don't want to return to, and therefore it's better to leave that. It depends on our own personal development, how much we've developed ourselves. There's a verse in the Prapana Jivanamritam which says, that before I used to love sense gratification, and now when I think about sense gratification, my lip curls and I want to spit. It like disgusts me now, But that's one stage. But another stage is, there's another prayer. As much as I love sense enjoyment now, let me love your lotus feet as much as I love that. So, then...
I was thinking, Maharaj mentioned earlier about accepting favorable things and rejecting unfavorable. So anything in your past existence was unfavorable, just give it up.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the truth, isn't it? That they say, that every sinner has a future and every saint has a past. So yeah, may be the case, whatever we did in the past, that may not be useful for us now on the path of Krishna consciousness. Like Bilva Mangal Thakur. Have you heard of Bilva Mangal Thakur? No. He's a famous saint, and he wrote a book called Krishna Karnamritam, which means nectar for the ear. Nectar about Krishna for your ear. That is the literal meaning of the book. He became a saint, and he writes in the beginning of the book. He says, I bow down to my gurus, beginning with Chintamani. And he names Chintamani as his guru, considered as his guru. But the Chintamani that he's referring to was a prostitute. And he was very much addicted to spending time with her. And although she was a prostitute, she was also a devotee of Lord Krishna. So, and one day he had some desire to be with her, and so many things happened during that day before he could get to her. Like a tree, there was a big storm, a tree fell down, and he narrowly missed him. He had to swim across the river, and so many trials and tribulations, and finally he got there, I made it, finally I've come there. And she said to him, if you had so much determination to serve Krishna as you had to come to see me, then you would be a great devotee. and that touched something inside him, and so he, leaving that association of a prostitute, he began to devote his life for Krishna's service. So, and he became a great, well-known saint. And when he wrote that book, Krishna Karnamritam was one of the books that Lord Chaitanya carried with him from South India. 3 books: Krishna Karnamritam, Brahma Samhita, and Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami. So these 3 books, and they're both Krishna Karnamritam and the book of Jayadev. They're both considered to be Madhura Lila, books about Madhura Lila, about Krishna's intimate pastimes. They're not meant for us. They're meant for the higher devotees. But Mahaprabhu kept those with him, those Gita Govinda and Krishna Karnamrita. But in the beginning of that Krishna Karnamrita, he says, "I bow down to my Guru Chintamani," as he saw that that was she was his inspiration to pursue Krishna consciousness, and so we can say that everything in our life can bring us to Krishna consciousness if that's what we need and what we desire. So it may be, something that we still remember and consider in that way, if we can connect it with Krishna. But there may be parts of our life that beforehand, before coming to Krishna consciousness, that were not at all favorable to Krishna consciousness. So, but, it says that only the Lord knows for what purpose everything happens. So that nothing happens, not one blade of grass can move without the sanction of Krishna. So everything that happens has its sanction with Krishna, but only he knows why. Only he knows why that happens. So then we should always try to consider our past life and our present life also, but we should try and consider it in relation to Krishna and Krishna consciousness. And as Ram said, then those things which are favorable to Krishna consciousness, we accept. Those things that are unfavorable, we reject those things. And then that will be different for each individual. Like it's a general path, but what brought us to that path may be different for everybody. So, there's no definitive answer to that question that would apply to everybody.
Work in progress.
Yeah, actually that's right. We're all a work in progress. Always a work in progress. And Srila Maharaj used to say that. I never consider myself as a finished professor. I always consider myself as a student. And that's the healthy attitude. I'm a student, always a student. And this idea, it's true to an extent that you can't treat that. This saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That is true, but only to an extent. If we believed that, then we wouldn't be able to make any progress in spiritual life. But Saraswati Thakur did say that for someone to practice Krishna consciousness, to come newly to Krishna consciousness over the age of 40 may be very difficult. Because by the time you're 40, you've already decided, all of your views on life, more or less, you've already decided. But not impossible. How can it be impossible? Because it's actually our true nature. So it's not a matter of conversion or like that. It's only a matter of awakenment. if you have a strong guru, a good guru, then that can be, even that may not be so. But it is difficult for us to change our nature as we get older. Do you have another?
Not that I can think of now.
Okay. Ram Prabhu, you have some?
No, just thinking what Dwarka talked earlier about the pastime is that we're all actually involved in that whole pastime. It's not
Of course.
It's a closed circle.
Yeah.
It came here to save us, and 500 years later it's still ongoing. So,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
all part of that Leela.
Yes. That was what Srila Govinda Maharaj said. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote that, he said, the day will come when all intelligent men and women of the world, they must accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's religion of love as the only answer to the problems of the world. And he said the day will come when the fair-skinned European people, the Americans, the Russians, the Africans, that they'll all join with the devotees of India with their arms raised, chanting Jai Satchinandana, Jai Satchinandana, and going to the places where Mahaprabhu had his pastimes in India. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, and when I read that, I thought, yes, if Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that will happen, it must happen, but not in my lifetime. But now when he read that, maybe 20 years later, he saw, and now people all over the world are practicing Krishna consciousness. People are from all nations coming to India with their arms raised, chanting Jai Satchinandana, and going to the places where Mahaprabhu had his pastimes, seeing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, going to those places. So we think we're, part of a minority religion, but we are not actually. We're part of the majority, because the majority of Jiva souls are devotees of Krishna. We just live in a minority area, that's all. And sometimes we think that as well. Remember when we went to see Govindaji in Jaipur. There in Jaipur, the whole city revolves around Govindaji. Govindaji is the deity of Krishna, of Rupa Goswami, of our Sampradaya. And he lives in Jaipur, in the palace of Maharaj Jai Singh's palace. Jai Singh was the warrior king of Jaipur in the time when the Mughal invaders, headed by Aurangzeb, they came to India. And Govindaji, Radha Govindaji, they were in Vrindavan. And Aurangzeb, he made his capital in Delhi. And from his palace in Delhi, he could see every night this light, some light. And he can't understand where this light is coming from. So he sent his men, go and find out what's the source of this light. And they came back and they said, in Vrindavan there's a temple of Govinda, and they burn a ghee lamp there every night that's so big that it can be seen from Delhi. It's like 80, 90 miles away, you can see in Delhi the light coming from Vrindavan. So Aurangzeb, being a good Muslim, he decided to go and smash the temple of Govindaji, and many temples in Vrindavan, not just Vrindavan, but especially in Vrindavan. He went there, and understanding that would be the case, Govindaji told his priests, "Take me to Jaipur, to Jai Singh, the king of Jaipur." And Jai Singh, he was a Vaishnava king, and he designed the city of Jaipur according to to Vedic principles. So it basically reflects the cosmos, the whole city, and in the center of the city he made his palace. So then Govindaji came to him in a dream and said, "You've made a very nice city, it's all very nice, but you made one mistake, and that is you put yourself in the center, whereas you should have put me in the center." And he said, "But don't worry, I am coming. So in the grounds of your palace, build a temple for me, and I will come. In a few days I'm coming." And they came there. Radha Govindaji came there, and his temple is there, same place, in the grounds of the palace. And although Aurangzeb lay siege to Jaipur, he could never defeat Jai Singh. He called Jai Singh the lion. Actually, that's what his name means. But it's surrounded on three sides by mountains, and huge gates and walls at the front, and within those walls there's farmland, so it can withstand any siege because they grow their own food there. So then he couldn't defeat them, and so Govindaji was happy there, always happy there, and living there. And we go there sometimes to have darshan, and everyone is going there. In the whole city in Jaipur, everyone knows Govindaji. They know him. Every shopkeeper has a picture of him on their wall. Like everywhere. And we went there during Kartik and went for the Mongol Aarti. The Mongol Aarti at 4:30 in the morning, wasn't it? 4:30, I think. Yeah. And we're going there, and everyone's going there. The whole city are going there for Mongol Aarti. When you go and see that Mongol Aarti, 4:30 in the morning, everyone from all over the city coming there by any means possible. And it's just like an ocean of devotees coming there. Like they circumambulate, and you get carried away with in that ocean of people. When you see that, you don't think you're part of a minority religion anymore. You think this is like incredible. Thousands and thousands of people coming there to worship him. And that's not just any temple of Krishna. That's Rupa Goswami's deity, Govindaji. Rupa Goswami, the head of our sampradaya. It's really a kind of breathtaking, transcendental experience to see that. I thought so. What do you say, Vijay Krishna? For really, and not just in Jaipur. There's so many deities from Vrindavan there. So many original deities from Vrindavan. It's really a place to go to see.
For them, Lord is a part of the family.
Yeah.
So it's not something like externally that they think you need to go and ask for.
Right.
It's like
Just
so much family.
Yeah.
They're going to. Their mood is like they're going to see their father in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
The Father Lord.
Yeah, and they go and they're like thrilling. They're thrilled. It's not like they're just coming for like once in their life to see that. They're coming every day, and every day when the curtains open, they go crazy to see him. They throw money. They throw money to the deity, like showers of money come there, and everyone's like, it's like an incredible thing to see such a thing. You think that, they must have come for the first time to be so excited. No, this is every day for them. They're coming and getting excited like this. I wish we would also have that kind of excitement.
You think like this is Govinda Devji's temple, and
Yeah.
the Green Street is coming every day morning.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not also in the morning. It's afternoon and evening as well. I was.
Oh, yeah.
Evening the same.
All day.
Like the morning starts with the Lord, Shayan Arati, like the night, evening ends with the Lord. It's like they're in that mode.
That's quite wonderful. So, are we ready? Offering finished?
Yeah, offering that.
Okay, then we can end our meeting today. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswat Thakur ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Bhargya ki jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.